Good morning, everybody. We were going through the registration list earlier, and glad to see there's quite a few of you we have helped in the past with some of the similar situations with the Autodesk account and licensing, and glad to see you attending. And for all those who are new to us, welcome. We're going to go ahead today and go over essentially a high overview of the Autodesk account and then get down into some of the details of what you need and what's pertinent to making sure you have all the info you need for installing and getting all those products put together. And then we're going to break down into some of the installation, the newer desktop app that some of you may have, and ultimately end, I believe, on deployment creation and installation. So welcome, and let's get rolling. So first off, we're going to be covering the Autodesk account, the point where you're going to be logging in to get all the information for your products, your downloads, all of that good stuff. And before we get rolling too far, we want to go ahead and ask real quick. We got a couple poll questions regarding if any of you have accessed the Autodesk account and who of you may be software coordinators or contract administrators. So go ahead and answer the questions real quick, and here in a few seconds we'll go ahead and collect those responses and keep rolling. Good? Okay. All right, so it looks like a good portion of you have accessed the account before. There are some of you who haven't, so we're glad we'll be covering this. And for those of you who have accessed, you'll know it changes frequently enough. Next, we want to go ahead and... Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, a good portion of you have logged in prior. The next question we're going to end up asking is, are any of you currently a software coordinator, contract administrator, or neither? And this is good to know just because a lot of this information is pertinent to those of you who do monitor and assign users and that kind of thing. And then for those of you who aren't either a software coordinator or contract administrator, it's important for you to know who is your contract administrator or software coordinator. That way, if you need this information in the future, you know who to contact. And it looks like a good portion of you at least have some access to most of the stuff we're going to be going over. So with that, let's go ahead and get rolling. So when you log into your Autodesk account for the first time, it's going to be at accounts.autodesk or I believe it's manage.autodesk?
Manage.autodesk.com.
Manage.autodesk.com. The default screen that you're going to be pulling up to is going to be your products and services. And as you can see here on the screen, we got just the navigation bar from the left-hand side. So for those of you who have logged in, this is familiar. So in the products and services pane, you're going to be seeing quite obviously all the product services that are available to you. And then you're going to be rolling down to the next section, and that's going to have the reporting. And this is specifically for cloud services, cloud credits, any rendering that's being done, that kind of thing. And you can monitor it by users or just by total assets for the account that you're monitoring. Next on the list is the devices, and this is where you can check which devices have subscription benefits installed on them or have access to subscription benefits. Most notably, we've noticed that the A360 desktop, when it's installed, it seems to register the device at this point. And this is also where you can get a good feel for which users have which products. And on to the next section, you're going to go into your user section. This is specifically important for contract admins and software coordinators. I don't believe users alone can see this field. This is where you're going to be managing that user account access, adding users, all of the other features that come with the desktop subscription benefits and the desktop subscription seats. And then finally, you get down into your billings and orders, and this is the location for your contracts and all of the different pieces in relation to your Autodesk account. And we'll move on to the next slide. So when you log into the Autodesk account for the first time, most recently, we've noticed this new feature tour dialog popping up, and this is just a quick tour to give you an overview of what has changed in the Autodesk account. And if you've clicked through this already, on the next slide we'll show you where you can actually toggle this tour back on and go ahead and get that brief overview if you want it. And at this point I'm going to hand it off to Doug, and he's going to go through the products and services screen.
Hi everyone, this is Douglas Lauritsen. I'm the Installation and Licensing Specialist here at PPI. So this is the All Products and Services list in the Autodesk account. Here at the top, you can launch the new feature tour again if you've dismissed it previously. Also, in the quick links, there's this What's New in Account area where you can go learn more about the changes that they've done to update the Autodesk account web portal. And in the quick links area here, you can get access to the old product enhancements list that's from the old subscription center, as well as a new feature to generate a network license file, which we'll cover in more depth shortly. And you can also view documentation on the network license manager, as that is always a pain point for customers.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the products list, you can click on the drawer button to expand a product. In this particular product, we've got AutoCAD. On the More Actions list, you can do some of the things regarding getting serial numbers for alternative uses. So you can get a previous version serial number, and on this screenshot you can see that there is no serial number or product key for the 2015 release. So get previous versions would be the way to get that serial number. For those of you who would like to allow your users to install the software on their home computers and you have a network license manager, you can choose the Get Home Use License link, and that'll take you to a form that will generate a serial number that you can provide to those users. And you can also request a physical copy, a thumb drive, at a nominal fee if you wish.
Also, I'd like to make note, the Get Serial Numbers you see next to the 2015 section down below, with the desktop subscription, you'll see that Get Serial Numbers come up often. If you did previously own a 2015 or 2014 seat, that Get Serial Numbers generally won't be there. You'll have that serial number available and ready. Now, if you are new to the subscription center, new to the Autodesk subscription benefits, those earlier serial numbers will not be available, so you will need to generate them if you're getting a new account. And back to Doug.
So on access control, what this allows you to do is manage how updates get distributed down to systems that have the software already installed and the Autodesk desktop app. So a lot of customers are choosing to block this from all devices, or to select specific power users or CAD managers that the updates get pushed to, and they're choosing alternative means such as automated tools like SCCM, or just manually taking the download and doing the installation. So to download the software, you can click the downloads links here. You can click the download link without having clicked the drawer button to open this view. Or once you've clicked inside, you can click the downloads link for the product release. And when you do that, you're presented with a new sub-window that allows you to select many options. So primarily, you can change the version, you can change the platform, you can choose your language type. Obviously, here in the Americas, we're mostly English, but we also have access to French and Spanish. And Autodesk has set this up so that the most convenient, what they deem to be the most convenient way to install for the customer is done from this Install Now button. So one thing that unfortunately we've missed from this slide is all the way at the bottom of this screen is a download button that launches another web page that has a list of products that you can download. Sorry we missed that for you guys. In this view right here, we've encircled the area where the serial number and product key would be viewed. So those of you who have access to downloads, when you're doing your installations of standalone products, you can use the serial number that's referenced here.
All right, and then from the quick links side, as we had promised earlier, you can generate a network license file now directly from your Autodesk account. So for those of you who have attempted to do it prior on your own through the registration portal, this is obviously a much more improved screen to go through. You're not going to be running through and entering your information each and every time. Obviously, it's linked to your account.
Yay, Autodesk.
This is our favorite feature for a number of reasons. One is it generates the combined license file automatically, and the other reason is it just makes it easier for everybody to generate a license file. So there's less needing to find somebody who's an expert in making those combined license files and going through the esoteric site that is register.autodesk.com.
So as you can see on the screen, you'll be picking your server model. Most users are going to be looking at a single server. If you have a distributed or redundant server, you will know. And once you've selected your server, you're going to be moving through. It's going to ask you for your server information, the physical address or the server ID, the MAC address, and then ultimately it's going to have you go through and select your products. And this is a really cool feature here because you no longer have to enter that serial number and hope that you pick the right version year or you have the correct serial number pulled up. So once you go through to select the products, you now get a product list for everything associated with your account. And I believe this goes through and it's by contract, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's by contract, and so you'll be able to break it down per account. And you select your products. Once you've gone through and selected your products, you'll be clicking Add Selected at the bottom, and it'll bring up the list once again, and you'll have your server name, verify your server ID, make sure you got all the products you want, and click Get License File. At this point, it's going to email a license file over to you, and as Doug was saying earlier, it combines the license file for you, makes it a whole lot easier than what it was before, no copying and pasting, and you're all set to go. So next up, we're going to review the Autodesk Desktop app, and at this point, we want to know how many of you have either accessed the desktop app or seen the newest one, because obviously it's got a bit of changes, as you will see. So go ahead, let us know which of you have seen the desktop app or have used the prior application manager, either or. All right, I think we got most of you in there. So as you can see, a good portion of you actually have not had any experience with the most recent desktop app or maybe the application manager prior. So the screens that we're going to be showing are for the most recent release of the application manager. If you're using the deployment wizard, you will still see some of the previous application manager just for the updates and or add-ons at the end. But for now, we're going to go ahead and let's review the newest desktop app. So this is what you're going to see when you log in, or not when you log in, when you launch the application. It comes down on your desktop, just as the previous application manager did. You have a brief overview. We'll just go over what each thing does. So we got our navigation bar on the left, and this is where you'll see the most benefit. Your first tab is going to be your updates, and this, as you can see on our screen, we just got the 3ds Max and the Autodesk Recap, and those are the only two I haven't updated yet, which is why we have just those two. But what it'll do is it's going to go through and recognize each of the programs that you have installed, and it's going to check where they are with their version, and then it'll show you what current updates are available. Now you can either scroll through the full list here, or you can go down along the side and select the products. And this is the part that we really like, because now you can actually filter all those different add-ons rather than trying to pick through that list. Next, you come over and you can sign in. You'll have account access up on the right-hand side. You click in here. This will give you access to your current account details, settings for the app, reading your privacy statement and the agreement for it, and then you also have the option to sign out. I believe the account details will actually launch your Autodesk account. Next, we have the help section. Breaks down into the Autodesk, I believe it's the web form for the help, and then it goes to contact us, which is the virtual agent, and then about, and that just breaks down the desktop app itself. And then finally, they have a nice little feedback section where you can actually start leaving information for, or leaving feedback for how you feel about the app, and hopefully getting a good little wish list going so that we can get this thing more streamlined than it already is. And we're pretty happy with where it's at right now. And then finally, when you pick inside each of the products, this is something that Doug's a little bit more excited about, so I'll let him go into it.
Hi. Yeah, so the Autodesk Application Manager was previously designed around getting the software to the end user's machine. The Autodesk desktop app has been redesigned to be more user-focused. So at the bottom half of the screen, you're going to see learning content for each of the releases or each of the products that are listed down the navigation bar to the side. On the upper section is going to be where the software updates are available. So as you click from the Updates tab to, say, in this example, the 3D Studio Max tab, you're going to see the updates that are only applicable to that specific release. And that's been useful for lots of customers who are trying to update, say, the collaboration for Revit. As those updates have come up, it allows you to quickly find the Revit product, and then in that sub-list find the collaboration update. So that's where the main change in this is the user interface portion.
All right, so next we're going to break down into installation and licensing, and once again Doug's going to take it from here because, as Wendy mentioned, he is my mentor and you will get a whole lot more out of him.
Yeah. All right, so with the 2017 release, there are some fairly subtle changes. First off, they've pulled the serial number product key from the actual installer if you're doing the installation. So by having done that, you're going to choose the license type and enter that information during the first use, the first time the user uses the software. The other thing is that Autodesk has changed the Migrate Settings toolbox from the list view to this new grid view. So it makes it easier to see those items that have customizations in them, and it allows you to pick and choose which items you want. And this easier grid form is great because the migration tools have always caused corruption, or oftentimes caused corruptions with the user interface for the new release, and we've always recommended either not using it or carefully selecting only those settings that you need to migrate. And by having this grid view, it does make it easier to make those selections. The deployment wizard now also includes the option to choose the Autodesk ID for the named user installations, those new desktop subscriptions. And then the new serial number standalone option is still there for those of you who continue to have grandfathered standalone licenses. And the network option here covers two purposes here. It has the old network perpetual licenses and the new desktop subscription licenses for network. The multi-user desktop subscription also uses the old network license manager, so this network license option is chosen. So before I get to talking about the installer, I want to find out how many of you have either downloaded or installed the software.
Or use the deployment wizard.
Okay, well, we'll do this question first then. Yeah. Have you used the deployment wizard to create installation images?
Oh, we're fighting about 50-50.
Yeah. No, it's starting to go.
Okay, never mind.
Okay. All right, we'll close the poll there. So this is actually a little bit disappointing to me because I like the deployment wizard. I like that it allows you to have have a standard installation image on your servers so that you can pre-enter the license model, the serial number, all that information. And then the other thing is that as your different users are installing it, if they're installing it on their own, or if you have an administrator or an IT person who's doing the installation, you get consistency of installation across the computers that you have. So our last poll question is, how many of you have either downloaded or actually installed the software yourself? Or both?
And actually, we didn't have a neither on there.
Yeah, that's true.
You've worked with the product, you've installed it.
I was looking for my option, which was neither.
Yeah. Okay, this is great. So lots of you have been through the trials and tribulations of getting the software downloaded. Autodesk has improved that over the years. They made the download smaller. They've done things to the installer so there's less duplication. So that's made the overall size of the entire download smaller. I think this year's installer is hopefully going to find fewer error messages. They've, you know, for a long time they were on .NET 4.5 and various versions of Visual C++, and that's kind of been streamlined. So I think that the Microsoft updates, or the updates to those Microsoft components that Autodesk needs prerequisites installed, is going to be easier. So great with that. On to some more details about the installation. So as the installation starts, you're going to see this initializing dialog box, and this is an important process that Autodesk has to do to allow each of their prerequisites and many of the items that they install along with their software, so that those installers can be called to predetermine the install state of those items. So this is calling out the .NET framework installer to see what the state of that is, those kinds of things. After that, whether you're doing an installation or a deployment, you're going to get this dialog box, and otherwise the process is the same. We'll point out the differences here, but if you want to install, you're going to click the very large install button. If you're looking to create a deployment, you're just going to click the smaller deployment button. And when you're creating a deployment, so this dialog box is skipped over for the installer, you're going to choose a name for the deployment. In this particular case, I've just used the abbreviation for the plant design suite. Usually we recommend making it fairly verbose so that the person who goes and clicks on the shortcut that launches the installer knows exactly what they're looking at, which is here. And then the next item, the administrative image path, so this has to be a UNC location. So you're going to specify the server name, then a network share, and then we generally recommend a folder location that's meaningful. For most of us, we do it by release year. And then on our servers, we have a place where we store updates and various other things. So I've created this deploy folder, and finally a name. And the recommendation here is to find a strategy to keep this path as short as possible, because there's a 255 character limit in the that Microsoft has, and so keeping that short here prevents problems. And I believe Paul has some additional feedback.
I had a question. So as it was stated, Doug is my mentor, and when he was first discussing it, could you clarify what UNC paths are for us?
Right. So the UNC path is the path that is based on the computer's name rather than a specific hard drive location.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's going to be in this particular format, double backslash, the server's actual name, and then a backslash. And then the administrator creates a network share. In this example, that network share is called Autodesk, and then the rest of the path is basically all the folders that are in that location. So this check mark here is clicked on by default, and what it's trying to do basically is to decrease the amount of information that's written to your servers when you create deployments. If you want to use that deployment administrative image to make all kinds of different various installation shortcuts or deployments, or have variety, you may want to clear this check mark so that the entirety of the media gets written up to the server. when that's done, you can add products that you didn't add initially, and that kind of thing. And another way that that's helpful is with the Building Design Suite, we frequently get questions from customers that have run the install and the defaults, and they didn't include the AutoCAD architecture, so they're trying to find that. And when you have to do that, you have to reinstall. So being able to go in, modify the deployment, create a new shortcut for AutoCAD architecture, or just filling the check mark for the product is useful there. And also, the deployment wizard is set up to run the installations in silent mode. So this is going to suppress all the dialog boxes for the installer when the user or administrator or IT person does the installation. We frequently recommend testing without this, and once you've done a few installs, you can then come back in, modify the deployment, and fill this check mark again. So after you click on to the next one, whether you're doing a deployment wizard to do the deployment and create the installation image, or if you're doing an install, you're going to get the Autodesk License and Services Agreement dialog box. So if you object to this, what you want to do is cancel and exit the installation. Otherwise, you want to choose the Accept Radio button and click Next. You can read this here. It's also available in a variety of other sources. Autodesk has a website for it, for example, and you can also view it from the About page in almost any Autodesk product. So when you're creating the deployment wizard, or creating the deployment with the deployment wizard, that's the only installation scenario where you can pre-select the licensing information. So here we have the license access section there, which gives you the 4 license scenarios that we've had over the last few years. So the serial number option in the middle covers our perpetual standalone licenses. The network option at the bottom gives us our perpetual network licenses, as well as our new desktop subscription network or multi-user. And the one at the very top is for our desktop subscription named user. And then if you're choosing to do the network option, you have the traditional boxes to enter the serial number, product key, to choose your license server model, the single server model, where only one server is designated, the distributed server, where the clients are configured to look at multiple license servers, or the frequently not recommended redundant model that's really designed for a data center circumstance, and a text box to enter the name of your license server. So finally, you get to the meat of the installer, which is going to be a short list of products that go along with a product if you're installing only a product, or a very large list if you're looking at a suite, such as this Plant Design Suite Ultimate. And on these pages are areas where you can specify the settings for each of the products. So these little buttons here allow you to expand and get into detail there. That's quite a long conversation, so we're going to skip over that. But you want to make sure that all these little arrows are cleared, and that will keep that Create button down there at the bottom active. And then once you click Create, or if you're doing an install, you click Install, you're going to get on to the point where it's installing. So each installation is going to be different because it's going to be based on the prerequisites needed for the system and the products that are chosen. So one computer, you might install the same group of products, but you might have an X number of installations, and on another computer you might have more or less because of the items there. But this is just a general screenshot of those items skipping through. This is the AutoCAD 2017 core component. And when the deployment finishes, you're going to get this note giving you information about where the shortcut is to do the installation, where the shortcut is to do the modification of the deployment or to create new deployments or new shortcut links, as well as the link to launch the updates. And if you click Add Updates, you're going to get what is the Autodesk Application Manager. So Autodesk built that so that it runs at the end of the deployment wizard. If you click the Update Software button, then you can get to a list of products. You can fill.
Go back. There you go.
You can fill check marks for the products. You can click the individual Add button, or you can have it add the entire selected list. and this processes the download, extracts the Microsoft package if necessary, and then integrates it into the setup INI so that it gets included in your installation. And then finally, if you've done an installation, when the installation finishes, you get this dialog box showing you that the installation has successfully completed.
Feel free, the contact information here, and just send your questions to support@theppigroup.com, and we'll try and get everything addressed to help you move forward. So thank you so much for spending an hour with us today. We hope this was helpful and valuable. We will be sending out the recorded version and making that available so that you can either see some of those steps that Doug and Paul were walking through, and stop and pause the video if you need to, or share it with colleagues. And with that release of the video, we'll email that out to everybody. There will be a survey. We do ask that you please let us know how we're doing with our webinars. So, and any other topics that would be of interest to you. So if you'd complete the survey, we'd appreciate it. We always do a drawing for a Starbucks gift card for all of those that completed the survey. So if it takes 5 minutes of your time, but you might win yourself a free latte. So again, on behalf of Paul, Doug, and myself, we thank you so much for spending time with us, and we hope to see you in the coming weeks on another webinar. Have a wonderful afternoon.